Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. My name is Matt, and I'm joined by Venush on a day when it feels like we've gone like a week without basketball because they gave the Celtics and Heat series a little break, but it's only been a day. Um, that's just how much basketball we've been getting with the bubble. It's been awesome. But before we're gonna get into obviously both series, our thoughts, uh, all that stuff. But I think first off the top, we need to talk about what happened over the weekend or on Friday, I think it was. Giannis unsurprisingly being named the MVP of the league for the second straight year. I was kind of surprised by how many people actually had a problem with that, calling out disrespect to LeBron and all that stuff. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are.
Yeah, like it's all the media members who are endorsing this agenda of, man, it's so disrespectful with LeBron and like saying stuff like that. Like I understand former players coming with that agenda and I give them the pass because they don't get the vote, right? It's only media that gets the vote. So I understand former players addressing how the voting needs to be changed or maybe like clarifying what it is and stuff. But the media members like Stephen A. Smith and other members like him who are bashing the voting system, it's like they're the people who voted for it. So
Yeah,
like I don't
literally.
understand what they're like complaining about.
Yeah.
Like they made the choice. We agree with the choice. We both thought LeBron Giannis was the clear number one
Hmm.
and LeBron was the clear number two. I just think people have to uh, like know that this was a regular season award before the bubble. Like it was the
Hmm.
bubble wasn't even included at
Yeah.
it at all, and like it's not even like no one would question this if this award came out right before the bubble.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
because
I
he got
know.
eliminated.
I don't understand.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are, even though it's clearly stated in the definition of the award, people are somehow thinking this is should be just given to the best player in the league. And before the bubble, I would have been one of those people who would have said Giannis and Kawhi are better than LeBron. But I think after this bubble, I have no argument for that at all. So I
yeah,
think like it's pretty clear that LeBron is still the best player in the league. And to get me to say that actually means something. But that doesn't mean anything because the MVP award, like you said, is a regular season award, and the fact that LeBron James has another top six, five maybe player on his team automatically takes away votes. And the fact that Giannis was the defensive player of the year, putting up comparable offensive numbers to LeBron, like there's no chance. So I really don't see why people are saying LeBron got robbed.
yeah. The defense part, like people usually don't coordinate with like
Yeah.
MVP because people like James Harden has won it. Steph Curry's a two-time. Steve Nash is a two-time.
Mm-hmm.
But when the offense is so close with Giannis and LeBron, where it's like
Yeah.
neck and neck, and it's kind of a flip of a like coin, I think we have to give defense, the record, all into like in consideration. And Giannis runs away with it when
Mm-hmm.
you put that stuff together.
Yeah, I could have told you before the bubble that LeBron is probably the guy I would rather have in a playoff series because we've seen Giannis isn't not a one-dimensional player, but we've seen teams kind of figure out how to slow him down, and you can't really do that to LeBron. The only time he kind of beats himself sometimes, but you can't really. There's not one way to stop him. Um, but the fact that Giannis was the defensive player of the year on the league's best defense and averaged 30 and 6 assists for one of the league's top offenses, there's just with no other MVP caliber player on his team, there's no way. There's just no way.
Yeah, and like Chris Middleton is kind of the best player, obviously, besides Giannis. And he's not like a playmaker. So you have no
Hmm.
secondary playmaker on that team. We just have to like give Giannis credit for what he did. Like it's incredible how much he's accomplished with this Bucks roster
Yeah.
because it's going to be massively different for next season. They're going
Hmm.
to have the playmakers and they're going to have a
I hope so.
much more incorporated system. And like
Yeah.
this system was made for Giannis to win MVPs,
Hmm.
kind of like how Michael Jordan had a system in the early 80s where he was made to win MVPs but not win those championships. Kind of like how LeBron had it with the Cavs before he went to Miami. He was made to win MVPs with Mo Williams as his second best player, but
Hmm.
not win championships. Like players usually have this, great players usually have this run where they're winning MVPs, having a high seed because they're that great, but not winning championships.
Hmm.
And I think this is that run with the Bucks that Giannis has right now.
Yeah. I completely agree. And if Giannis does get the playmakers that he needs, his numbers are obviously, especially the assist numbers, are going to go down a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, but he's going to be doing not winning as many MVPs, but doing a lot better in the playoffs. So it's kind of the system might need a little bit of changing, but
yeah,
based on the system, there's no way that LeBron was the MVP. He was a second, definite second,
yeah,
but
clear second.
yeah,
We also have to talk about how are we kind of like taking James Harden for granted?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
how many first place votes did he get? I don't even think he got
He got
one first
one.
place.
He got
He got
one, I
one
think.
first place
Yeah.
vote, and he averaged 36 points a
Mm-hmm.
game.
Or
Like,
maybe he only got maybe got zero. Maybe he got one second place
I
vote.
think he got
Maybe
one
that's what it was.
second place vote.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That might have been it.
So like that's insane. Like this guy is averaging 36. His team, Westbrook was a horrible player for half the season
Mm-hmm.
and the bubble. And like he had no real other like starting caliber player till Covington joined them. They were the what fifth seed, and like he averaged 36 and near triple double. Like this is insane. No one's stats are even comparable. Like if this was just a statistical award, obviously Harden would
Mm-hmm.
win it.
Like if,
Like
but the fact like if Luka Doncic averaged the exact same numbers as Harden did, he would have
MVP.
been probably the MVP,
Yeah,
if not maybe second. But just the fact that it's Harden, he has voter fatigue. He only won one MVP in his life, but has
yeah,
MVP voter fatigue because he's always in the top three.
yeah. So it's
And also, I think like Harden is always near the top in MVP voting, but he always kind of falters and fails in the playoffs. So I think people might not want to give him the award because even though it's a regular season award, people don't like players that fail in the playoffs. And I'm just wondering if that's going to start happening with Giannis.
to
Because if
Giannis.
Giannis won
Yeah,
the MVP this year and then made or won the finals, I would say he's probably the favorite next year. But now I wouldn't put him as a favorite after what
yeah.
happened.
With the top three guys, Harden and LeBron. LeBron's been in the final in the MVP conversation for 10 years now. Harden's been top three for 5 years now since
Mm-hmm.
2015, since Curry won it. Giannis has won the last two MVPs, and I can't. They're not the favorites for next year, which is crazy to say. None of those three
Yeah,
players
right.
are the favorites for
Crazy.
next year because LeBron's minutes have been at 33 minutes in the playoffs. So that's definitely going to decrease when the regular season comes around. So no one thinks he's going to be a MVP caliber player anymore because of the minutes. No one thinks Harden or Giannis are going to like be MVP caliber players because of the voter fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
And the favorite by everyone's like clear like executive votes and stuff is Luka Doncic, which I agree with. Like he's
Yeah.
who I expect to win MVP next year because he had a very close season this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think though that playoff experience that this Mavs got and the improvement they can make to their roster because they do have a first round pick this year,
Yeah.
like they could easily be a top four seed. And I think that's all Luka needs to get that
Yeah.
MVP.
I agree. If his numbers even stay the same, if the efficiency numbers just get a little better and the
Yeah.
team has a little bit better of a seed, and then guys like Giannis with the voter fatigue, combined with possibly resting or whatever because of the weird season that's going to be next year, and then LeBron's age, all that stuff. Yeah, Luca has to be number one. I would throw Anthony Davis in there probably.
Ooh.
Not really sure. Um,
That'll be tough. I
I
can't
don't
see
know.
a
That's too
LeBron
it's too
teammate.
far away to think about that right now. But yeah, Luka
Yeah.
Doncic probably would be number one.
Yeah.
So, speaking of MVP caliber players, 2 games in to Lakers Nuggets. What are your thoughts? Because we have a few MVP caliber players in this series, in my opinion.
I think Jokic is a top 10 player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Or like he was top 10 before the bubble, in my opinion. Some people had him like 11th because they had Embiid flipping with him. But now, like after the bubble,
Who'd have done that? That's what kind of idiots would have Embiid over
over
Jokic? I don't
Jokic,
know.
yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
who would do that.
Yeah.
But after this bubble and this run, like it's a lock. Like he's a top 10 NBA player. He's the best center in the league.
Mhm.
Like he's so aggressive now, like in the fourth quarter. Like
Did you see him back down Anthony Davis?
yeah,
Just
the
like
last shot.
casually back Anthony Davis down to tie the game up or take
What
the
I
lead.
thought no, take the lead. Yeah, what I thought
Yeah.
was the game winner. I was
Hmm.
like, wow, that was incredible. He's showing that he can be the second best player in the series and like he can force
Hmm.
the Nuggets to win a couple games.
Yeah.
Because before what everyone thought after the Clippers got eliminated, which you could see by the bets, is everyone in the world thought that LeBron was the best player in the playoffs and Anthony Davis was the second best player in the playoffs. Jokic just trying to make an argument that he's comparable to Anthony Davis,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a really close game. But
Oh
that
my
shot
God.
just kind of ruined everything Jokic was doing. That shot,
Yeah,
and Anthony Davis scored 10 in a straight too. People always talk about Jokic
that
scoring
was
11
crazy. I don't
straight.
remember the last time I saw just two big guys just
Yeah,
be the guy that takes the ball in crunch time and just says, "Get out of my way." And we saw that with Jokic. He scored a bunch of straight points for Denver. Davis, like you said, after Jokic backed him down, he literally just ran down the court in like 3 seconds and just flipped it
yeah,
in there. It was ridiculous. Um, Man, and then I was kind of like surprised by he was making a lot of crazy like off the dribble pull ups and stuff like
yeah.
in that game. If he can do that, that's crazy, man. Because he's a little inconsistent with that. He's better than other big guys like Giannis or whatever with it, but man, if he has that in his bag, that's just it's a wrap. It's crazy.
Yeah, Anthony Davis might be the best playoff performer. Like if you look at his whole career, he's averaging like 30 and 12 in the
Hmm.
playoffs over his 25 games that he played. Not
Yeah,
just this.
he just didn't have the big moments, but he just had his
Yeah,
first one. Yes, or
yeah.
2 days ago.
And he could have his first championship this year too. Like
Yeah.
he is going to establish this season can really establish Anthony Davis as
Hmm.
an arguable top five player in this league.
Yeah, and
Because
and
we
two
don't know.
games in, if they were giving out an MVP for this series, 2 games in, he would win it over LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron, man, like I don't want to say he's washed because he always has great performances,
Hmm.
but if that was a younger LeBron, a Miami Heat LeBron, or even the second like 2016 LeBron, if he has what did he have 20 points, like 4 minutes left in the second quarter,
Hmm.
and he finished with 27, I think.
Hmm.
Like if that was a younger LeBron, like we're talking about a 40, 45 point
Oh,
game.
100%. Yeah.
And we're talking about maybe an easier like 10 point, 12-point win.
Hmm.
But he's slowing down and like it's kind of sad to see because he's not even playing a lot of minutes anymore. He's playing 33 minutes in the playoffs. He averages for his career 42 minutes in the playoffs and 33 minutes last like regular season before the bubble. So like age is clearly coming into effect. And I personally thought this Lakers team was not good enough to win without playing LeBron 44 to 45 minutes a game.
Hmm. Yeah.
But Rondo stepping up as a
I was just.
playmaker, like he is stepping up so much. Dwight Howard's defense is looking like amazing.
Hmm.
So like those two old players are stepping up and allowing LeBron to play 33 minutes and be in the finals. Like it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, like you said, I don't want to say he's washed because
Mhm.
for quarters, 2 quarters, halves at a time, sometimes we see him look like we know he can, but then like
Yeah,
you said, he kind of disappeared in the second half. Just let Anthony Davis take over. Maybe that game isn't as close as it was if
yeah,
he sustains that over the course of the game. But yeah, there's two big things I take away from this series other than what we already talked about. And number one, like Rondo, man, like
yeah.
it's crazy. I honestly think this could be a 2-0 series for the Nuggets. It could be. It would definitely be 1-1 because that was a ridiculous pass to Anthony Davis. It could be a 2
Insane.
nothing lead for the Nuggets if Rondo didn't play. Just the way he controls the pace. Some of the like how many free throws did he get Dwight Howard by just like throwing him these like
Lobs.
lobs and these like entry post passes and getting Jokic in
Yeah.
foul trouble and stuff like that. He's been so clutch this series. Even on we talk about his defense, but even on the offensive end, he's just been like he's been so important for them, man. I'm so surprised. It's crazy.
What I don't understand is how Rondo's this good in the
I know.
playoffs
I know.
because he was so bad this season. Like a lot of people even stop believing in playoff Rondo. They're just
We do
saying
this every year. We're like,
he's
oh,
old.
Rondo's washed. It doesn't matter if you
Yeah,
have him. And then people are like, no, no, playoff Rondo's going to show up. And we're like, yeah, whatever. That was a 1 or 2 time thing. But every
yeah.
year it happens. I don't understand.
Like he's probably one of those players that can't get up for a game that doesn't matter,
Mm,
which you could say all regular season games doesn't matter if you have
yeah.
LeBron on your team because you know you're making the playoffs. So like he just can't care during the regular season enough to try. And when the playoffs comes around, he's like locked in, and he gives it his all defensively to stay on the court, and
Mhm.
he gives LeBron those valuable minutes where he could like go into the post and like back up Grant,
Yeah.
back up
Yeah.
maybe a bad switch
Exactly.
and get like a Jamal Murray
Mhm.
and like just play hard, and like he allows LeBron to be this low post scorer,
Mhm.
which is unstoppable. Like no
Yeah.
small forward, which is who usually guards LeBron, is stopping LeBron from backing down.
No. No way.
Yeah, so like he just allows all these mismatches to happen, and it's incredible. And
Th-
but we also have to say the guy who he's supposed to guard, Jamal Murray,
Mhm.
he came
That's
up
what I
pretty
wanted to say.
huge in the fourth quarter too. That
Yeah.
block on Danny Green, incredible.
I was I was celebrating
Yeah,
because
so was I.
I was ready. I was just like, hey, like, unless anything crazy happens here, it's a 1-1 series. Let's go. Jamal Murray came up big for Canada, and then
Yeah.
Rondo shows up. But yeah, man, like coming into this playoffs, coming into the last couple of playoffs, one of the things I'm most interested in is seeing is, can Jamal Murray be the second guy on a team? Is he good enough to be a playoff player? And the last couple of years, it's been sometimes he looks like he can, and then other times he looks like he can't. But for the last, he's had a couple of not so good games this playoffs, but for the most part, he's been just beyond anything I expected, and I'm so happy, man. I think he can be the second best player on this team. They need another guy or two, but I think he can.
Yeah, and I think Grant has locked in like he needs to be a part of this team as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's the four they need to like build around, like MPJ, Grant, Jokic, Murray. And that's a core that, in my opinion, like after this playoff run, is as good as the Celtics young core. Like that's the only those are two teams that are like the teams of the future in my opinion, because like they're doing it right now and they're still young.
Yeah.
So
Only thing is they don't have the defensive ability that the Celtics do, that those Celtics guys have. But yeah.
yeah, but to be fair, MPJ, like he's probably like the most potential as a
Mm-hmm.
defender,
That's true.
and
That's fair.
Grant's already an amazing
Oh yeah,
defender.
no, no, yeah. I'm just
So
talking about like
like
Jokic, Murray, but yeah.
yeah, so as long as MPJ steps up, which I think he can,
Mm-hmm.
because he's shown potential where like he's rebounding well, he has good like court awareness. As
Mm-hmm.
long as they get someone who's another like point guard defender who could really instruct and be like a vocal leader, Drew Holiday. So as long as they get a player like that, they might be, in my opinion, like the second best team in the league
Yeah, I
besides, in my
completely
opinion, the
agree.
champions this year, the Lakers.
You think Lakers are best team in the league next year? I don't know. That's a
Uh,
topic for another day, but
yeah, that's the
yeah,
topic after the trades.
yeah,
Let's see where Chris Paul goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I agree. I'm so happy about Murray. I'm just wondering, what do you think, like, what do you think this means for his regular season play? Because he's always pretty good in the regular season, not great. He's never made an All Star team. Do you see him as an All Star going forward, or because he definitely has that, like, people know him now, right? If he misses out, it's gonna be considered maybe not a snub, but people are gonna notice if he misses out, right? So you can't just kind of fly under the radar anymore.
Yeah, but he also has games where it's not like great statistical games. Like
That's true.
an All-Star is kind of all just stats. And for a team to have two All-Stars in the West, in my opinion, need to be a top four
Mm-hmm.
seed. So, which they usually are. The Nuggets
Mm-hmm.
usually are a great regular season team. But are they going to be a high enough seed for Murray and Jokic to get in? Because almost all of us have Jokic as a lock for an All-Star. He's probably a
Yep.
lock for an All-Star
Yep.
starter
Yep.
as
Probably.
like the All-Star starting center. So like it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for two like West teams, two players on the same West team to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think a single team besides the Lakers had two All Stars. So that's how you know like how difficult it is. Because Paul George was
Yeah,
injured
because
last season.
yeah, Paul George.
Yeah,
The path I see is they would need the one seed, I think, and if they had the one seed,
yeah,
you automatically get two. And I can see them getting the one seed next year, 100%. I can see that. I'm not saying they're going to be the best team in the West, but I can see them
yeah,
getting the one seed.
yeah. It's just gonna be tough because with Curry coming back, Clay coming back, like he,
Yeah, but that's, I don't know. You can't just pencil them in for. I don't know how many games they're going to be in next season, but
yeah,
it's going to take some time, I think, for those guys.
yeah. It's just he's not gonna get the votes. That's what I'm saying. Like
Oh yeah, okay, okay.
he's not
But
gonna
if
be
you're the one
close.
seed, you automatically pretty much get two All Stars, and yeah. Anyway, that's not really important. What matters
Yeah,
is the playoffs, and he's performing in the playoffs right now. So I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, it's gonna be incredible to see like how this Nuggets team kind of evolves next year. Because a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
like Charles Barkley was saying, and Shaq and them are saying, like they still don't expect this team to like be that much. They're like, hey, this was a great one,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not like believing in this team. And I think that might be an understatement, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we've seen like a lot of analysts and guys have said this, but I completely agree that continuity is so important. We
hmm
look at the Clippers, literally like no continuity whatsoever, and this
yeah,
Nuggets team has been together for a long time now, and that, especially in the regular season, can help a lot. I think that no matter what, kind of like the Raptors, like even if you don't really believe in them as a playoff team, they're always going to be near the top of the conference.
yeah. And another thing about them is they're adding a 15-point scorer even if they make no trades because Will Barton's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So they're adding a 15-point scorer who could create offense and play defense and was replacing those Tony Craig minutes where he's kind of just playing defense and standing in the corner, missing
Mm-hmm.
wide open threes. So like that itself is going to be a huge improvement, but no trades. So like this team is going to be great when it comes back, and he has
Yeah.
experience with them. Obviously, he's been with them
Yeah.
for so many years now. So
Yeah.
like this team's definitely going to improve a lot.
Yeah. So last thing, prediction for tonight.
Yeah, I have the Lakers in 5. I had them in 6 our last podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's going to go 3-0, and then the
Mm,
they're going to save their season one more time, the
yeah.
Nuggets, and avoid the sweep, and then it's a game after that. It's a
They
series.
needed. I'm not gonna count them out because they're down two games in the series, which is exactly where they want to be. Because,
Basically, yeah.
but they needed that game so bad to have that game to be 2.1 seconds away from making it a 1-1 series against LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and then being down 2-0. I don't know if you can come back from that just mentally. If we'll see how mentally tough they are in this game. If they play calm and don't try to force a lot of stuff, who knows if they take this game? Who knows what can happen? But yeah,
Yeah, and at
I'm
the
with
end
you.
of the day, a team with LeBron James and Rondo, I just do not see them losing a 2-0 lead because they're
Yeah.
so like they have like such a veteran experience where like one of them's always going to be on the court and like control everyone and tell
Hmm.
them to calm down,
And Rondo's so calm.
handle
He
the
did
ball.
no celebration whatsoever
Yeah.
on
And
that pass.
yeah, like I hate to bring up the Raptors again, but we could clearly see it with the Raptors too. Like when we gave it to Kyle Lowry,
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
the ball was so calm, the plays were so
Hmm.
calm. And when he fouled out and we had Freddie with the ball, it was
Hmm.
kind of run to the corner, like dribble, dribble, dribble,
Yeah.
dribble, dribble. What can
Yeah.
I do? You know what I mean?
Kick a
And
30-foot three.
yeah, and they just have two players that could do that for 48 minutes, like on and off. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're not losing the 2-0 lead. They're winning this in 5, in my opinion.
I can see 6. I can see the Nuggets taking today. It's gonna be, I think, super important. This is a good way to transition to talking about the other series because if the Celtics didn't grab Game 3, I thought that series was 100% over. But it looks
Oh
totally
yeah,
different now.
obviously, yeah.
Like
I don't think
obviously down 3-0,
both
it's
teams
100%
come down.
over. But
Yeah,
it feels like a way closer series than it did just a couple of days ago now. And Gordon Hayward came back. How much do you think that had to do with it?
everything.
Yeah.
He was the best bench player.
Hmm.
Maybe like he's gonna be the best six man of the year next year. Like he might not win the award. Like Andre Iguodala never won the award, but he was
Hmm.
the best six man. If he's a six man, he's the best six man in the league by far. Like it's not even comparable.
Yeah.
And like he played 30 minutes, and those 30 minutes they just had another defender who was 6'8",
Hmm.
another ball handler who's 6'8", another shooter who's 6'8". Like
Yeah. Just a guy who knows
he
what
could
to
do
do. Who
everything.
just yeah,
Yeah,
big. Like we all know how good Gordon Hayward is. Obviously, he's not at the level pre-injury Gordon Hayward, pre like
yeah.
all the 7 injuries he's had in the last couple of years. But yeah, just having him, just having a veteran presence, shooter, can do everything, defend, pass, everything, especially off the bench is huge. His numbers like weren't don't like jump off the
Great.
page,
Yeah.
but he had such a good game.
Yeah, and people don't understand like he's not taking minutes away from
Yeah, no,
Tatum,
he's
Brown.
taking
He's
away
just
from
taking
Semi Ojale.
Semi Ojeleye, Wanamaker, Grant
Yeah,
Williams,
and
Robert Williams.
from a not to bring them up again, but from a Raptors fan perspective, those were the minutes that I was like, yes, Semi Ojale's on,
Yeah,
Grant Williams is on, let's go Wanamaker. And now if it's Gordon Hayward coming off the bench, that's crazy.
and like obviously his defense is not touted as like incredible or whatever, but like I'm gonna talk about Grant Williams again. Like
Mhm.
he's someone who was so slow-footed. Like it was all just energy. Like he didn't have that defensive IQ from being in the league for so long that
Mhm.
Gordon Hayward has. Like he might not have the athleticism, but he has all this like defensive IQ and knowing how to move with the team, play team defense, call for help on a switch, call for help on a mismatch. Like he's someone who improves that team so much because of the experience. And he's not great at anything anymore because all those injuries
Mhm.
kind of robbed him of his all-star career. Like I don't think
Yeah.
he'll ever be an all-star again.
No.
But he is by far the best bench player in the NBA, and he's gonna determine the series because if he can have another one of those impactful games where he's able to play 30 minutes and take all those bench minutes, basically, man, this Celtics team is crazy. Like
Yeah.
they might be actually giving the Lakers a run for their money because like that's the best like 6-man rotation in the NBA. It's
Mhm.
just gonna be
Yeah.
tough to beat the Heat, who have the best 8-man rotation in the NBA. They're a little more
Mhm.
deeper, but it's definitely a great series. And I think we have to, as much praise as he's got this whole playoff run, I think we have to put a little blame on him too. Like Jimmy Butler, like what are you doing? Like, is this the guy that I ranked above Jason Tatum and Paul George? Okay, Paul George, that seemed like a good decision to me right now,
Yeah.
but he can't score the first 3 quarters at all. Like, what is happening?
Yeah. It's weird. It's almost like he just says, "Okay, you guys handle the first 3 quarters, and then when it's close, I'll take over." But if he played like that the whole game, maybe it wouldn't be close in the fourth. But
It's not
yeah,
even like
I don't know, man.
they don't have leads. Like they've only led
Yeah, I know. The
20%
Celt
of the time this whole
they
series.
they came back from double-digit deficits in game 1 and 2, which they both won, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, 17 in game 2, I forget. It was like 12 in game 1 or something.
12
So,
in game one. Yeah.
yeah.
So like I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the coach is doing. Like Goran Dragic, yes, you are amazing. Like you are probably the biggest surprise of the playoffs and the biggest surprise of like basketball 2020. Like how amazing you're playing. But the ball needs to be in Jimmy Butler's hands and he needs to be more aggressive. And people are gonna say like it's a system ball, that's what got them this far. Like
But at a
just
certain
believe in the
point,
system.
yeah.
Yeah. At a certain point we gave the ball to Kyle Lowry and
Mhm.
Siakam and said, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And they need to do the same with Jimmy because Bam, at the end of the day, he's getting his points. He's doing it. He's doing it consistently for the whole quarter. I mean, for the whole game. And obviously, he plays better in the fourth quarter too. But that's more with momentum of the defense and switching and everything like that. But if they lose a series, the only player that you could blame is Jimmy Butler, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we need to see how the rest of the series goes, but if he keeps playing like this, not playing aggressively enough, then yeah, I think you can. But do you think that if he were playing super aggressively, we would see his sort of weaknesses as a player, his inefficient shooting, uh, being primarily, the main drawback of his game? Because you can see him pass open like threes that almost any other player in the league would take. He'll pass them up, even like mid-range jumpers, and he'll pretty much either pass or just try to get straight into the paint. And that's just kind of been his game the whole year.
Yeah, but he doesn't need to score 25 to 30 points to be aggressive, right? I'm just saying, like, drive into the paint and like
Mhm.
get those open shots for Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Jay Crowder, Iggy Iguodala. Iguodala's not playing this series, which is surprising. Kelly Olynyk, Myers Leonard, get those easy dump ins for Bam. Like he
Mhm.
doesn't need to be a scorer, but like he
Yeah,
just needs to
true.
be involved in every. Kind of like how LeBron is. Like LeBron scored 7 points from
Yeah.
the fourth
Yeah.
quarter, like in the second quarter to the
Mhm.
end of the game, but he touched the ball every single play. Like every single play, he was setting the pick for the scorer. He was dribbling it up the court. He was setting a backsides pick. Like he was always involved in all the plays. And I just don't see Jimmy Butler doing that. And maybe that's what separates the championship teams versus
Maybe.
non-championship teams because they
I
have a
mean,
player like LeBron who could do that.
yeah, we know Jimmy's not afraid. That's not why he's
Yeah,
not playing like that. But yeah, we definitely that's something to look for the rest of the series. Um, I think the Celtics have the momentum right now for whatever reason, even though they got embarrassed in game 2, had a huge like meltdown in the locker room. I feel like they have momentum. I feel like they might pull game 4, and this is just a brand new series after that.
Yeah, I had the Heat winning in 7 games. Like we both
Yeah, we both did.
have, like we both think this is going to be a 7 game series. And like, this is time for Jason Tatum. You believe in him. You had him above Jimmy
Oh yeah,
and Paul
it's pretty
George.
good right now.
Yeah. So if Jason Tatum wants to prove that he's the best player in the series and the
Mm-hmm.
second best small forward behind Kawhi, like he needs to get those. He needs to
Yeah,
win the series.
yeah.
And if Jimmy Butler wants to prove me right and say he's the second best player behind
Mm-hmm.
Kawhi, he needs to win this series. So like, it's going to be a close one.
Yeah.
Bam has probably risen in stock the most, other than the Nuggets players. Like Bam is, in my opinion, is he the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year next year? Like after how good he's been playing this playoffs.
Maybe like he's never gonna put up the numbers that like the big three Gobert, Giannis, Davis put up,
Yeah,
but he might be the best pound for pound defender in the league. Yeah.
yeah, like he's incredible. That game-winning block, one of the best
Oh my
moments.
god.
I think one of the best blocks in NBA
Mm-hmm.
history. Obviously, LeBron's comes to mind first,
Yeah.
but in recent history, that's the second
Mm-hmm.
block that comes to my mind. Like that was
Yeah.
incredible, and it was
I agree.
on a top level player,
Mm-hmm.
Jason Tatum, who we expect
Yeah.
to be a superstar. But with this series, its ratings have also not been that great. And can we say that it's going to be a little hard for the Nuggets to beat the Lakers because of the fear of the ratings drop? Like, can we expect some play, like some bad officiating down the line for the
I
Lakers?
I don't know if that's a real thing, but it's true. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty certain that the Thursday night football game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns got more views, better ratings than Nuggets Celtics. Sorry,
Heat
Celtics
Celtics.
Heat. Sorry,
Yeah,
um, which is kind of crazy. But I mean,
yeah,
it's week 2 of the football season, and we know like how much an event those games are. So you don't really need to
yeah,
read into that too much. But yeah, you have a point.
yeah. This is the first time a playoffs, like NBA playoffs usually versus the NHL playoffs. This is the first
Mm-hmm.
time they're versing NFL.
Yeah.
So that's going to take a hit on the ratings, obviously. And the only player with a signature shoe is LeBron James. So obviously that's bad for the ratings as well because he's the only superstar.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Anthony Davis is a superstar, but he just doesn't sell
He's
products.
not. Yeah, he's not that type of public,
Yeah.
figure superstar.
Obviously Tatum is a rising superstar, going to
Mm-hmm.
get his signature shoes, but just not yet.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Bam, in my opinion. If he signs with like a lower brand than Nike, he could definitely
Mm-hmm.
get his own signature shoe as well. Jimmy Butler is also in that same echelon where he's a superstar, but he just doesn't move products. So like it's just LeBron. And man, if you lose LeBron in this playoffs,
Yeah.
somehow,
Yeah.
like, can the NBA really withstand losing LeBron? It would be by far the worst ratings
Oh my god.
for the finals
Yeah.
since like the 2000 when the Nuggets and like Lakers were playing, and everyone just expected sweeps to happen. Like it would be insane. It
Yeah.
would be horrible.
I mean, like from a basketball nerd like us perspective, a
Yeah,
Nuggets Heat finals would be like awesome.
yeah,
But just for the average person, that's like they probably could not think of one player on it on either team.
yeah,
They might have heard of Jimmy Butler and they might have heard of some guy named Jokic, but like yeah, you're right for sure. And you
yeah,
said, I just want to say quickly, you said Bam. I agree that Bam has probably risen in stock the most, at least on in the Eastern Conference. But like, at least for me, I've been so like kind of shook by Marcus Smart. He's been so good. Like he's
yeah,
I've never seen him shoot the three this consistently, combined with the defense and
yeah.
like the leadership. It's crazy.
Well, a lot of this had to come to Gordon Hayward getting injured and him just being a starter.
That's fair.
That's
Yeah,
I think that just saved Brad Stevens because now he's a starter. I think forever. Like
he has to be.
he has to
Uh,
be.
fully healthy, like not fully, but like pre this year injury Gordon Hayward, I wouldn't swap him with Marcus Smart in the starting lineup right now.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say the exact same thing Fred VanVleet said. I think the Raptors win if Gordon Hayward was starting and playing those minutes instead
Hmm.
of Marcus Smart.
Actually,
Because
yeah.
Marcus Smart
Did Freddie
completely.
say that? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, Fred VanVleet said Marcus Smart helped them obviously
Yeah.
because he was starting it, getting more minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, he shut down Fred VanVleet, who was expected to make around 20 million as a free agent this year,
Mhm.
and he did a decent job when switched onto Kyle Lowry as well. Like he's probably the best defender alongside Drew Holiday and Ben Simmons. Like it's between them three as the best guard defender,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people would go for Ben Simmons because of his height.
Mhm.
But man, it's tough to argue against Marcus Smart.
It really is. And another thing with him is like the Raptors Celtics series demonstrated this, but he's one of the best. Him and Kyle Lowry, two of the best floppers in the league.
Yeah, and Patrick
I think
Beverly too.
flopping is the worst it's ever been. Literally, guys, they'll get you'll any series you watch right now, guys are just falling on the floor all over the place. I don't know why that's happening now, but yeah, Marcus Smart, he's so good at drawing that foul, drawing that call, offensive or defensive. Yeah, he's such an important player. Does all the little things, and like we saw game two, maybe it's a different series if he doesn't go full Steph Curry against the Raptors and
Yeah,
make like 15 straight points.
yeah, but JJ Redick was saying the two marquee playoff series of the second round had the three best floppers in the league: Patrick Beverly, Kyle
Mm-hmm.
Lowry, and Marcus Smart.
Mm-hmm.
So he said it's probably not an issue, this flopping. It's just that the
Okay.
three best floppers were playing in the biggest series. So it just seemed like an issue because they're just the best at what they do. Like LeBron's the best NBA player, they're the best floppers.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if there was an award, they got it. Like besides James Harden, who's probably the greatest at getting foul calls, but I want to say he's a flopper. He's
Think
just
like honestly, I don't even think he's a flopper. I mean, sure, sometimes he
he
flops, but
has
like
to be.
everyone's a like every guard, every good shooting guard in the league does that little fake to get the guy in the air and then jump into them with like I don't even know why that's a foul, but every guard does that. Kyle Lowry is like one of the best in the world doing that. But James Harden is just he's so good at drawing the contact, not just flopping. Obviously, he exaggerates the calls, but he's when you look at it on replay, it's like yeah, he got touched, he initiated it, but yeah, he got hit.
Yeah, James Harden is just so good at flopping where he's able to control it where
Mm-hmm.
the media doesn't get at him.
Yeah.
He found the perfect amount where it's like this amount of sway and reaction is gonna get the call, but it's not gonna get the media to call it.
Mm.
Whereas Patrick Beverly, Marcus Smart, and Kyle
Marcus
Lowry, they
Smart.
just
Yeah.
give it all.
Yeah.
They just drop to the floor. Like they
Yeah.
just don't have that filter.
Yeah.
So yeah, those four are definitely the best at getting foul calls at very light contact.
Yeah, like if I was a fan cheering against Kyle Lowry, he would make me so mad. But
Yeah.
we had that because Marcus Smart was on the other team, so I guess it evens it
hmm
out.
Yeah, and a lot of question has come in since the last guard to ever win Defensive Player of the Year was Gary Payton. Can Marcus Smart realistically do it as well?
Now that he's for sure in the starting lineup, um, I think it would depend on the Celtics' record. I think they would need to be probably the best defensive team in the league, if not the best team in the Eastern Conference. Um, but yeah, I can see that maybe.
Because we know this Bucks defense is not going to be as good as it was last year. With Eric Bledsoe moving on, potentially Brook Lopez moving on, hopefully not.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the system's going to change with them not allowing so much three-pointers, which obviously bit them in the playoffs. So we know that historic defense is not going to be there for Giannis' case.
Mm-hmm.
We know Anthony Davis is going to have a case always,
Yeah,
and he's
Gobert.
probably the favorite to win it. Gobert is kind of like
He's always there.
uh,
That's all he has going for him.
he kind of has like voter fatigue at this point too, because he's been in
Yeah,
the top three for the
like he
last
probably
4 years.
yeah,
So he's
yeah.
kind of like the James Harden of the
Mhm.
Defensive Player of the
Yeah,
Year.
yeah.
So we know there's going to be new guys like Bam also in the mix too.
Mhm.
But Marcus Smart has a very good chance. I think he's definitely in the top five favorites, in my opinion,
Yeah.
to win the
Well,
Defensive Player
honestly, like if it's gonna go to a guard, I'm not saying Simmons is a better guard defender than him, but like just with his size and everything, the rebounds he's gonna grab compared to Marcus Smart,
But he
I
has
would probably.
another
I
he has
know, I know,
another
I
Defensive
know.
Player of the Year candidate
Yeah,
helping him out,
yeah,
blocking shots and guarding the
yeah. I mean,
rim.
I'd
So
love to see a
like,
guard like him win it, like Marcus Smart. Even
yeah,
though I really like him as a player, even though he makes me so mad cheering against
yeah.
him.
It's gonna be this Celtics team is definitely gonna be. I wonder if they're gonna stay the same for next season because they have one first round. No, they have 3 first round picks and a second round pick.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
If they
incredible.
can get a big man that can not even be like a good offensive player, just be a guy who isn't a complete negative on the offensive end and play some good big man defense,
And then
that would
have move
be
Tice for the bench. That would be
yeah,
incredible.
man. Ooh,
They would have
yeah,
2 centers that could space the floor and grab rebounds and
yeah.
shoot threes.
Like Serge Ibaka, that would be crazy on this team.
Or honestly, Miles Turner. They have enough
Yeah,
assets to
yeah, yeah.
get
Mm-hmm.
Miles Turner, and he's only making 17 million. He would definitely fit
Yeah,
in with this roster. Like this NBA is the play. Each team's gonna improve so much next year.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right. I think yeah, at the top, Lakers may or may not change. I don't know. I don't even know how they're gonna change their team. But yeah,
They have a first round pick.
Clippers probably adding a big man.
Yeah,
Um, Nuggets have a trade to make or two
yeah,
for sure. Same with the Celtics.
yeah.
The Heat, I'm actually not sure
The
about.
Heat is the team I think is gonna take the biggest step back because they're just waiting
Yeah,
for that free agency
yeah.
and they're kind of banking in on it. So I expect
Raptors
them
are
to stay the same.
probably either staying the
Huge
same or
step
taking a
back.
step back because they're
Yeah,
just waiting for Giannis 2021.
and
Oh, I
losing the
guess we should
centers.
probably talk about that. Giannis, everyone expected him to want out of Milwaukee, but he's like, why not be here for the next 15 years? Do you think that's true? Do you think he's lying or not lying? Do you think he's being accurate with that?
Well, all the comments of like every like Reddit like video reactions and everything is just fans are like, oh, I don't know how that felt. He's gone, he's gone, he's gone.
Hmm.
In my opinion, if they get eliminated in the second round, he's definitely going to explore his options again next year. But if they get a playmaker like Chris Paul and make the finals, I could really see him just staying in Milwaukee and pushing,
Yeah.
running it back again.
Yeah.
Because he's only 25 right now. If he signs a 5-year contract and he loses all 5 years, he'll be 30.
Hmm.
Like that's not that bad.
And his
Like
and a 30-year-old Giannis, I feel, is different than a 30-year-old LeBron James because
yeah.
his game is so reliant on athleticism, whereas LeBron
Oh
had that ridiculous athleticism, but also had like the better, obviously, basketball skill itself. I'm not saying Giannis is going to suck when he's 30, but I think the next 2 to 3 years are going to be the best years of his career for sure.
really? I honestly think Giannis is going to be in like the MVP conversation so he's like 32 because of his
Really?
defensive IQ. Like
Okay.
defensive and offensive IQ. Like he's able to get into those positions. Maybe he won't be the ball handler that he is right now when he's older, but is anyone going to really be able to stop
That's
Giannis
fair.
from
Maybe he
backing
just
down?
switches to full time center when he
Yeah,
gets a
like
little bit older. Yeah.
he is a center. Like there's no center. Like he's guarded Joel Embiid, probably the
Yeah.
most physically
Yeah.
dominant center in the league right now. He's done a great job on him. So yeah, I just expect that team. I just expect Giannis to be great for the next 7,
Yeah.
8 years.
I mean, so do I, for
Yeah,
sure. But yeah, and it's like if he does end up leaving Milwaukee, it's not going to be because Milwaukee's not a big enough market for him or anything. He wants to win a championship, and if he plays another year there and they're near the top of the Eastern Conference, favored to make it to the finals, conference finals at least, and they don't make it, I think you have to question the roster and look somewhere else. Just because you don't want to. He definitely does not want to be a player who has these ridiculous numbers in MVPs and just wins no championships, right?
yeah,
So I think that has to be number one priority for sure.
yeah. And the also another negative with my Milwaukee is they don't have a player that's under 25 that's in like a
Yeah, they're
star.
low key an old team now. We used to look
Yeah,
at them as like a kind of young team, but they're not anymore. Other than him,
yeah. Like the players that he's gonna join, he could like obviously join a Bam, who's a great young center. He could join Siakam, who is All NBA second team. Let's
mm-hmm.
go.
Let's go.
After
Right
the
choice,
bubble,
by the way. I think, but
I think I agree with you that it was the right choice,
yeah.
but a lot of people are getting on
For
him.
all,
But
I mean, we're Siakam haters number 1 and 2 for the
yeah,
last 2 months, but that was the right choice.
yeah. So like he's could join all NBA players who are young and who want to play with
Yeah,
him
yeah,
and who are bigger markets. So
yeah.
they need to win a championship for him to
But
stay.
I honestly, I think even though they are an old team, they don't have a ton of like winning experience. Even though they're all old,
Yeah,
they all have like almost no winning experience. I think like a Chris Paul type player would mean so much to this team.
just adding more age
Just
too, though.
just I know, that's just you'd be going all in next year, and then if it doesn't work out,
He's
you
leaving.
could be looking at the worst team in the NBA the next year.
The good thing with the Bucks is they have their picks,
Yeah,
and the picks are actually valuable because a 2023 unprotected Milwaukee pick might actually get you something good back because Giannis might be gone, and people could be like, "Oh,
that's fair.
like, is that
Yeah,
going to be a top three pick, right?"
yeah. I
And
mean, yeah, like you look at those Clippers picks that the
yeah,
Thunder have. It's like, okay, you got one more year of Kawhi and Paul George, but after that, what's good? Like, who knows? So those
or
picks could
those
be crazy.
or those Houston picks that
Mm,
the Clippers have 2025 and 2026. James Harden's going to be like 35,
yeah.
and Russell Westbrook's probably retired. So like those picks can be amazing too. Like these long distance picks could get you a really good player
Hmm.
back, and they're gonna have this is going to be the most trades ever in off season
Yeah, I agree.
because the free agent pool kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does. But that's a lot of content for us to talk about, at
Yeah,
least. And I mean, it's next few weeks we're covered because we got obviously the rest of the playoffs and the
yeah.
finals to talk about. But after that,
You
I
got the
guess it's going
draft,
to be going to full draft mode, and
trade
then
rumors.
trade slash free agency stuff.
Yeah,
And then next, oh, I think Adam Silver told there was a report today that Adam Silver told CNN that next season is starting in January at the earliest, most likely,
yeah.
which I kind of predicted. I didn't. They said around Christmas, but I didn't think it would be that early.
I thought it'll be
Um,
Christmas Day.
so we're probably looking at like mid January
Yeah,
potentially, which would probably mean what do you think, like a half of a season, like a 41 game season, 40 game season?
41 game seasons. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's probably the best option
yeah.
they could come with. And players like players like Kevin Durant are gonna have a lot of rest,
Hmm.
and that return is gonna
That's
be
actually
probably the biggest hyped return
yeah,
in recent history to basketball since
yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Because Kevin Durant injured his Achilles in June of 2019.
2019, he's
It's
playing
now what is it? It's now September of 2020. So
and
it's
he's
been
playing
like
January
yeah, so
2021.
January. It's gonna be not. It's gonna be a year and a half of
Yeah,
recovery time for him, which is like most
enough.
players come back within a year of that injury, right?
Yeah, but they never come
Um,
back the same.
yeah,
So it's the
but
biggest question mark of the
we've
NBA.
never seen a. I don't know if we've ever seen a player with that much recovery time for an Achilles, but yeah,
Yeah,
definitely for sure. I think that covers for
yeah, and we could
today.
definitely talk about fantasy. Yeah,
Oh wait, what's that?
I
Fantasy?
said we could definitely talk about fantasy and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
how everything comes up when the next season starts.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, we do fantasy a lot. We obviously
Mhm.
are constantly making trades in fantasy and stuff, but
Yeah,
obviously there's been no fantasy the whole time we've been doing this podcast, so that's something we can
incorporate.
definitely add in the future. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think that covers it for this pod because there are only two series,
yeah.
um, even though they're both really exciting. But yeah, uh, Lakers Nuggets tonight at 9 o'clock. Really, really, really want Jamal Murray and the Nuggets to win this for Canada and
Serbian.
for Serbia.
Yeah.
But yeah, uh, you have anything else to say?
That's all.
All right, cool. So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. So, false alarm. We just received some breaking news from Woj. Actually, 23 minutes ago, I didn't look at my phone mid pod. I wish I did. But the Bulls have hired Billy Donovan as the head coach. What do you think?
I think it's a great hire, to be honest. He's proven that he could get the best out of young players like Shea. And I think he could prove himself again and get the best out of young players like Lowry Markkinen and Zach Levine.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. We've seen what he can do with young players. I think his job was in question a lot when he had old players or older veteran players on his team, like Russ, Paul George, whatever. But yeah, the job he did this year, definitely. We knew he was going to get hired right away for sure.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty interested about the Bulls' future because I think a lot of people actually have them. Like I saw some people have them in the playoffs this year. I knew they weren't going to make it this year, but they might have a problem like in the paint. They have a lot of big guys like Markkinen and Wendell Carter and
they're bad defensively.
bad defensively. They I saw one mock draft have them take Onyeka Okongwu from USC.
Oh, really? I
I
see
I
all the
did
mock drafts taking Denny Ajive.
Denny
The
Avdija,
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
he's basically
Um
guaranteed to the Bulls. what it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? This draft is all up in the air, but yeah,
Yeah,
definitely a really interesting future with the Bulls. So you think? We'll talk about draft later, but yeah, so you think it's a good hire?
I think it's a good hire, but the only question is, what's Kenny Atkinson going to do
Yeah,
now?
that's the thing. Kenny Atkinson, is he a lock for the Pelicans or?
I kind of want him in the OKC now that
Oh,
he's kind of available, because we know OKC is going to go to the rebuilding route, not signing uh Danilo Gallinari again, trading Chris Paul,
mm-hmm.
probably trading even Dennis Schroeder for a pick. So yeah, we know they're going to be a young
Interesting.
team, and who's better at developing young talent than Kenny Atkinson?
So Kenny Atkinson develops this young Nets team, gets fired right when they
Yeah,
become championship contenders, or maybe not, but probably championship contenders. Hopefully,
yeah, he's going to
do you think
develop
he's
this
going to want to
OKC
take
team.
another rebuilding job, or do you think he's going to want a better job, like potentially the Pelicans or whatever? Do you think he just wants a job?
Yeah, I think he just wants to get more head coaching experience. He's still a
Yeah,
young guy at the end of the day. Like, he doesn't have
that's
that
true.
name value which
Yeah,
someone like a Chauncey Billups, Sam Cassell, or Ty Lue has, or
that's
even a
true.
Mike D'Antoni has. So he just wants to secure a job, lock it down, because there's a lot of great coaching. Like, I named what, like 5 or 6 right now,
Hmm.
and he just wants to make sure he's a head coach because he doesn't want
Yeah,
to do that assistant coach role again.
that's true because there's a difference between taking a team with zero expectations and over 3 years turning them into like a 8 seed.
Yeah,
And then there's a difference between taking a team with superstars or potential superstars on it and winning a championship. And I
yeah,
think a guy like Ty Lue is more suited for that.
yeah,
So maybe that's where the Pelicans go potentially. I really don't know
yeah,
because I've been surprised by a lot of these coaching hires, but yeah, I can actually see that OKC now that you say it. Yeah,
yeah. That would probably be the best fit for him. Ty Lue's actually been heavily rumored with the Rockets, and now that the Clippers have been eliminated, like that's going to be really interesting to see because
yeah,
Ty Lue's never played without a center, and in his last Cavs run, he had 3 guys that were like power forward slash centers, with Tristan Thompson starting at the
mm-hmm,
center spot, Kevin Love starting at the
mm-hmm,
power forward spot, and LeBron James starting at the small forward spot. So like he's definitely going to need a big man, and
yeah,
it'll be interesting. He'll be an interesting hire.
yeah. I agree. We talked about D'Antoni last episode, right? Or
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, he got fired. He's being interviewed for the Sixers role. Him and
mm-hmm.
Billy Donovan, who just got hired for the Bulls role. So
So
I
D'Antoni
I
locked for the
hope that
Sixers.
I hope that doesn't happen, because that would be the most going from all shooting
Yeah.
to Ben Simmons and
Oh
Joel
my
Embiid.
god. Yeah.
Hey man, if Mike D'Antoni can make that work, he might be the greatest,
The GOAT. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
greatest coach of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think that actually now does it for the pod. Little sorry for the little bit
breaking
awkwardness
news.
there, but
Yeah,
yeah, there was breaking news. We weren't going to wait a full week to talk about that.
yeah.
All right. So yes, thank you everyone again for listening, and make sure to come back next week when we talk about the series aren't going to be over by. Actually, wait, I think they are. I'm pretty sure Game
September
7 is scheduled for the
30th.
Celtics
30th.
series is on Sunday. So
I think it's on the 30th. So I think we might still, if they both go to game sevens, I
okay,
think we might
okay.
still have some
Anyway,
time.
we'll be really close to the NBA Finals next time we talk.
Yeah.
So make sure to come back.